Ladies and gentlemen, character is who you are when no one's watching. That single statement might be one of the most important truths you will ever hear in your life. Because in the end, it's not the applause that defines you, not the compliments, not the praise of fans, friends, or even family. Who you really are is revealed in the silence. In the moments when you're alone, unfiltered, unjudged, and unguarded. It's able to perform, it's able to act the part, put on the smile, say the right words, dress the part, but none of that is real if your private life is filled with habits and choices that contradict the image you portray in public. The truth is the world has become obsessed with image. We spend hours curating a version of ourselves that looks good to others. We're taught to polish our resumes, enhance our profiles, rehearse our responses. But character doesn't live in those places. Character lives in the places no one claps for. Character is found in the quiet decisions you make when no one else will ever know what you chose. Are you honest when there's no benefit to being so? Do you follow through on your word even when it costs you? Do you treat people with respect who can do nothing for you? Those aren't actions that make headlines. But those are the choices that form the foundation of character. You see, anyone can be consistent when there's something to gain. But character is about being consistent when there's nothing to gain. When there's even something to lose. Some of the most dangerous people in society are those who have mastered image but neglected character. They rise fast. They impress everyone. They become stars in business, ministry, politics, entertainment. But then one day, collapse. Why? Because the person they were in private couldn't carry the weight of who they pretended to be in public. Eventually, what's hidden always surfaces. The truth always comes out. And if the truth of your character doesn't match your reputation, your life will eventually fall apart from the inside out. The people you admire most, if you look closely, it's not just their success you admire, it's their substance. There's something about their steadiness, their honesty, their sense of purpose and integrity that feels rare. That's because it is rare. In a world where image dominates, character stands out like light in darkness. And here's the thing, people might be impressed by your talent, but they'll remember your character. That's what leaves a legacy. That's what makes people say, that was someone I could trust. That was someone who lived with honor. Now, how do you know if you have character? Ask yourself what you do when there's no reward. What do you do when no one's looking? Will you still give your best? Will you still be kind? Will you still walk away from temptation even if no one would ever find out? Those moments matter more than you think, because character isn't built in crowds. It's built in the unseen places. In fact, the greatest battles for your destiny will be fought and won in private, before the platform, before the breakthrough, before anyone knows your name. So if you want a better life that lasts, stop trying to impress and start trying to be real. Build something inside of you that doesn't need applause to function. Something that stands firm when temptation knocks, when pressure rises, and when nobody's there to give you credit. Because in the end, character isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about choosing what's right again and again, even when no one sees it. So do it. And ultimately, that's the only audience that matters. There's a saying that your gift can take you to the top, but only your character will keep you there. And it couldn't be more true. The world is filled with people who are exceptionally gifted, people who can sing, speak, lead, create, or solve problems in ways that inspire awe. Talent is magnetic. Skill is impressive. Gifting opens doors that might remain closed for others. But here's a hard truth. While your gift can give you access, only your character can give you sustainability. Just because someone is gifted doesn't mean they're ready. Talent might get you the job, But character determines whether you keep it. You might get applause today, but what matters is whether you can still walk with integrity when the spotlight fades, when criticism comes, and when temptation knocks. And make no mistake, temptation will come. Pressure will come. Fame, success, money, power, these things don't build character. Expose the character you already have or the lack of it. We've all seen it before. A person rises quickly. Their gift shoots them into a position of influence, wealth, or authority. Everyone praises them, people trust them, but then something happens. Scandal, corruption, dishonesty, betrayal, and suddenly everything collapses. The tragedy isn't that they weren't gifted. The tragedy is that their gift outran their growth. Their platform outgrew their maturity. Their opportunities exceeded their integrity. And eventually, the weight of success crushed what their character could. Character is what anchors your gift. It's what grounds you when praise tries to inflate your ego, when failure tries to define your worth, or when shortcuts promise faster results. When your character is strong, your gift serves a greater purpose. But when character is weak, your gift becomes a weapon against others or even yourself. So why does this matter so much? Because without character, success becomes dangerous, influence becomes toxic, leadership becomes abusive. You may impress people for a moment, but you lose their trust forever if your life lacks integrity. People don't follow talent, they follow trust. And trust isn't built on ability, it's built on consistency, honesty, humility, and responsibility. All of which come from character. You might be asking, if I'm gifted, isn't that enough? The answer is no. Gifting is not the same as being ready. A powerful voice, that means you have wisdom. Business skills, that mean you have discipline. Creative ideas, that mean you have the patience or resilience to handle pressure. What happens behind the scenes, how you treat people, how you manage your emotions, how you respond to failure, that's what determines whether your success will last. There is nothing wrong with being gifted. In fact, your gift is part of your purpose. But a dangerous thinking, the gift is enough. It's not. It never has been. The foundation of lasting impact is built in the unseen places through discipline, humility, honesty, and sacrifice. Character is built when you say no to things that feel good in the moment but cost you too much in the long run. Character is developed when you delay gratification, when you stay true to your word, when you show up even when you don't feel like it. So yes, develop your gift, hone your skills, grow your talents, but don't ever let your gifting outpace your growth in character, because your gift might get people to clap for you, but only your character will get them to respect you. And in the long run, respect will always matter more than applause. It's not about how high you rise. It's about whether you can stand tall when you get there. Character is built, not born. No one enters this world with integrity, discipline, courage, or wisdom already developed. These things aren't part of your DNA. They're not inherited traits like eye color or height. Character is something you have to build, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. And the truth is, no one escapes this process. If you want strong character, you have to do the work. There are no shortcuts. This is what my idea. Think about it like this. When you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice. Not because of the pressure, but because that's what was already inside. The same is true for people. When life squeezes you through betrayal, failure, loss, criticism, or pain, whatever's in your heart, your mind, your soul will come out. If you've been nurturing bitterness, pride, and selfishness, that's what people will see. If you've been cultivating integrity, faithfulness, and humility, That's what will rise to the surface. Crisis is a mirror. It doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't care about your image, your resume, or your reputation. It holds up a reflection of who you are at your core. Some people break in the storm because they never built anything solid inside. Others stand firm, not because they're perfect, but because they've prepared quietly, consistently, when no one was watching. You see, we admire people who stay calm under pressure, who respond with wisdom in chaos, who show grace under fire. But what we often forget is that those traits aren't created in that moment. They're the result of years of private choices, disciplined habits, and inner work. What looks like natural strength is often the fruit of years of unseen sacrifice. The question becomes, what are you building before the crisis? Because make no mistake, crisis is coming for everyone. You don't get to live a life without storms. You will face betrayal, rejection, failure, financial loss, health scares, emotional breakdowns. The crisis is inevitable, but whether it destroys you or refines you depends on what you've already built inside. If you want to be ready, don't wait for the test to start studying. Build now. Develop your character in the quiet seasons. Choose truth over comfort, honesty over ease, and patience over shortcuts. Learn to say no to what feels good now in favor of what builds strength later. Practice kindness when it's hard. Forgive when it's painful. Speak life when you'd rather be silent or lash out. Those aren't random acts. They're reps in the gym of character. Some of the most powerful people you'll ever meet are not the ones with fame or fortune. They're the ones who've walked through hell and came out whole. Not because life spared them, but because they had something inside that couldn't be shaken. That kind of strength is available to you, but it won't come by accident. It comes by building every day in the little things. So don't wait for life to knock you down before you decide to get serious about who you're becoming. Crisis doesn't give you character. It just shows the world what's already there. Build now, because when the storm hits, you won't have time to start building. You'll only have time to stand on what you've already made. Character is more important than reputation. Let that sink in for a moment. In a culture obsessed with what people think, how many likes you get, how polished your brand looks, and how others perceive your life, this truth hits different. Reputation is what people believe about you. Character is who you actually are. And when the two are not the same, something is deeply wrong. A phony servant. You can fool people. You can manage your image. You can say all the right things, wear the right clothes, post the right content, and still be empty, selfish, bitter, dishonest, or arrogant behind closed doors. Reputation is the mask. Character is the face underneath. And sooner or later, what's underneath will always come to light. The problem with living for reputation is that it puts your focus in the wrong place. You begin to shape your life around impressions instead of convictions. You start acting for approval rather than acting from principle. You begin making decisions not based on what's right, but on what's popular. And slowly, without realizing it, your life becomes a performance instead of a mission. Reputation is fragile. It can change with a rumor, a headline, a mistake. It's built on public opinion, which means it can crumble in an instant. Character, on the other hand, is rooted in truth. It's built in secret. It's the part of you that no one can take away. When everything else is shaken, when the lights go off and the crowd walks away, character is what remains. Ask yourself, if no one were watching, would you still do the right thing? If no one ever praised you again, would you still live with integrity? If everyone misunderstood you or criticized you for doing what's right, would you keep doing it anyway? That's the measure of character. That's the kind of life that... Here's what's dangerous. When your reputation grows faster than your character, when people celebrate you before your soul is ready for the spotlight, that's a setup for disaster. Because public praise can destroy a private life that hasn't been prepared. We've seen it time and time again. Leaders, artists, influencers, and even spiritual figures fall not because they weren't gifted, but because they were more focused on looking good than being good. Let's be real. Reputation can help you get in the room, but only character will keep you there. People may be impressed by your charisma, but they'll remember your consistency. They may like your style, but they'll trust your substance. And when things get hard, as they always do, it's not your popularity that will carry you through. It's your principles. It's your roots. It's your internal compass. So, how do you live with strong character in a world obsessed with reputation? You get quiet. You look inward. You ask hard questions. You choose honesty over hype. You surround yourself with people who tell you the truth, not just what you want to hear. You spend more time building your soul than building your image. You let your private life matter more than your public one. Because at the end of the day, people may forget your name, but they'll never forget your impact. They may not remember your accomplishments, but they'll remember how you made them feel, how you treated others, how you stood when it would be easier to fall. And all of that comes from character. Reputation is who people think you are. Wake up as who you are when no one's looking. Build a second and let the first take care of itself. True leadership doesn't start with position. It doesn't start with power, personality, or popularity. True leadership begins with character. You can hold a title and still not be a leader. You can run a company, pastor a church, lead a team, or manage a household. But if you lack character, your leadership is built on sand. It might stand for a moment, but when the pressure comes, and it will crumble. Leadership is influence, yes. But what gives that influence weight is character. Without character, influence becomes manipulation. Without character, vision becomes control. Without character, direction turns into domination. The most dangerous kind of leader is not the one who lacks skill, it's the one who lacks integrity. Because a leader with charisma, but no character, will always use people to build their platform. But a leader with character will use their platform to build people. The world doesn't just need more leaders, it needs better leaders. And better leaders are not defined by how loud they speak, how many followers they have, or how fast they rise. They're defined by how well they lead themselves. Before you can lead others, you have to conquer you. Your impulses, your pride, your fears, your ego. That's where real leadership begins. You can't lead others with clarity if your heart is clouded with unresolved issues. You can't guide people with conviction if your own foundation is shaky. You can't call people to accountability if your life is built on secrets. People can sense authenticity. They can feel when a leader is real, when there's something solid behind the smile. And that something is character.